It was an ordinary Tuesday morning when I first encountered her, the woman who would change everything. I had just parked my car at the local coffee shop, a place I visited almost every day. My car, a sleek custom-built machine that I had spent years designing and perfecting, stood out among the sea of mundane vehicles. The matte black finish gleamed under the morning sun, its low profile and sharp curves catching the eyes of anyone who passed by. I hadn't even made it inside yet when I heard the screeching of tires. I turned around to see a woman in her mid-30s, well-dressed and visibly flustered, walking briskly toward me. She had a phone pressed to her ear, her face red with a mix of frustration and anger. "That's him!" She yelled into the phone, pointing at me. "That's the car that's been driving around, scaring people. I want to report it immediately." Before I could even process what was happening, I heard her speak into the phone again. "Yes, yes. It's the one. Black, low to the ground. It's too aggressive. I want someone to do something about it." I was taken aback, my hand frozen in the air as I reached for the door. The nerve of this woman, how could she just judge my car like that? But it wasn't just the car that set me off. It was the assumption she had made without even knowing who I was. I watched her hang up and turn toward me with an angry expression. "Are you the owner of that thing?" she asked, her voice dripping with disdain. I tried to keep calm, swallowing the frustration rising in me. "Yes," I said, "I'm the owner. Is there a problem?" She scoffed. "A big problem. You have no idea what you're doing. That car is a menace to the neighborhood. It's going to cause an accident. You should be ashamed of yourself." I didn't respond right away. I could feel my pulse racing, but I knew reacting in anger wouldn't help. Instead, I chose the only thing that seemed right. I smiled, despite my rising irritation. "You're mistaken," I said. "It's just a car, and I designed it. I've put my heart and soul into it." The look she gave me was a mixture of disbelief and skepticism. "You designed that?" She scoffed again. "I highly doubt it." Before I could respond, she turned and walked away, muttering under her breath. I stood there for a moment, fuming, but more than anything, I was confused. How had she jumped to conclusions so quickly? But what I didn't know at that moment was that this encounter, this one brief interaction, would lead to something much bigger. Something I could never have predicted. The next few days were a blur. I tried to brush off the incident with the woman, but it stuck with me, gnawing at my mind. Every time I looked at my car, I couldn't help but think of her words, a menace to the neighborhood. I had put years of my life into designing that car, and now it was being dismissed by a total stranger as nothing more than a nuisance. A week later, I was heading to the same coffee shop when I noticed something strange. There was a police car parked near my usual spot. I frowned and approached cautiously, trying to figure out what was going on. As I neared, I saw the woman again, standing on the sidewalk with an officer, pointing toward my car. My heart skipped a beat. The officer turned toward me as I approached. "Is this your vehicle, sir?" he asked, his tone neutral but firm. "Yes, it is," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's going on?" The woman quickly chimed in, her voice tight with annoyance. "This car is dangerous. I reported it to the authorities. It's a hazard to this entire neighborhood. Someone needs to take action before it causes an accident." I stood there for a moment, stunned by her words. I hadn't expected the situation to escalate like this, but here we were. "I'm not sure what the problem is," I said slowly. "It's just a car. A custom one, but still just a car." The officer glanced at me, then back at the woman. "We've had complaints about this vehicle. People are concerned about the way it looks and drives. There's been talk of it being reckless." I could feel the blood rushing to my face, but I tried to keep calm. "I don't drive recklessly. I designed that car myself. Every detail, every part, I've poured everything into it. I've had it for years, and I've never had a problem before. The officer nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. Well, sir, I have to follow up on her claims. If you're the owner, I'll need to ask you a few more questions. The woman stood there, arms crossed, her expression still one of defiance. I could feel her satisfaction in this moment, knowing she had managed to get the authorities involved. I felt powerless as the officer asked me to step aside and provide some documents. The following days were a whirlwind. I was forced to attend an official review with the police, providing all the necessary documentation about the car. It wasn't just about ownership, it was about proving that my vehicle wasn't the menace the woman had made it out to be. I spent hours explaining the car's custom design, going through the specs, and detailing the performance features that made it unique. I could feel the frustration building within me. Every time I spoke, it was as though the authorities were still treating me like a suspect. I'd spent years developing the technology, the aesthetic, and the performance aspects. It wasn't just about the car, it was my life's work. Yet, here I was, having to justify my passion to people who didn't understand it. But then something unexpected happened. One afternoon, as I was heading out of a meeting with the local authorities, I received a call. It was from the head of the department handling the investigation. Mr. Davis? The officer asked, his voice now surprisingly calm. We've looked deeper into the vehicle, and there's something you need to know. I held my breath, wondering what else could possibly go wrong. We contacted the manufacturer of the parts you used for your car, the officer continued. It seems that the design has raised some eyebrows. Not for the reasons you think, though. There's a connection between your car and a very well-known designer. Your car's design is highly regarded, almost revered by certain circles. I was confused. I don't understand. What does that mean for me? The officer paused for a moment, before continuing. It turns out your car's design has been seen by several influential people in the automotive world. The customizations you've made were considered groundbreaking. You might not know this, but the very look and mechanics of your car were inspired by designs seen in high-performance, professional vehicles, the kind seen in exclusive events and even movies. I felt my heart race. Was he telling me what I thought he was? Mr. Davis, the officer said, your car is considered a masterpiece in certain circles. And the woman who reported you? She's someone who works in the industry as well. She likely didn't even recognize the significance of what you've built. My mind was spinning. The woman who had judged my car so harshly, who had reported it as a danger, was somehow connected to the very world I had poured myself into. It felt surreal. I suddenly realized that I wasn't just some anonymous car owner, I was involved in a world far beyond what I had ever imagined. The news hit me like a freight train. My car was considered a masterpiece in certain circles. I had always known it was special, but to hear it from the authorities made it feel like everything I had worked for had finally been validated. Yet, the woman who had reported me had no idea about the depth of the design or the impact my vehicle had on the industry. I decided it was time to confront her. I needed answers. I had been trying to avoid her since that first encounter, but now, with everything that had unfolded, it was impossible to ignore the nagging feeling of unfinished business. It was another bright morning when I saw her again. She was walking across the street, headed toward her car, her high heels clicking against the pavement. My stomach tightened as I approached her, the sense of purpose growing stronger with each step. "Excuse me," I called out. She froze, then turned slowly, as if she already knew what was coming. Her expression shifted from indifference to mild annoyance. "What do you want?" she asked, folding her arms over her chest. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice firm. "About the report you filed. The one about my car." She raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "What about it?" "I think you owe me an explanation," I said, my anger bubbling up despite my efforts to keep it in check. "You reported my car without knowing anything about it, without understanding anything about what I've done. You didn't take the time to even ask or learn about it. She scoffed, a slight smirk tugging at the corner of her lips. I didn't need to know. That car is dangerous. It doesn't belong here. It doesn't belong on these streets. I clenched my fists, struggling to remain calm. You don't get it, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. This car, I designed it. Every single part of it was crafted to be something new, something innovative. You can't just go around labeling something you don't understand as dangerous. Her gaze softened for a moment, and she seemed to take a step back, as if reconsidering. I didn't know, she admitted reluctantly. I didn't realize who you were. I thought you were just some guy who wanted to make noise with a flashy car. But I was wrong. I nodded slowly. Yeah, you were. But now that you know, I'd like you to think twice before making assumptions about things you don't understand. For a long moment, we stood there in silence, the tension thick in the air. I wasn't sure what I wanted from her, apology, acknowledgement, or simply recognition of what I had built. Finally, she sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. I guess I should have looked into it first. I'm sorry, okay? She seemed genuine, but I wasn't sure if the apology meant much. At least, not yet. After the awkward confrontation, I expected the tension to linger. But something about the way she apologized, almost as if the realization of her mistake had hit her in waves, felt genuine. She wasn't someone who easily admitted when she was wrong, and yet, there she was. I let it go. After all, there was no point in holding on to that grudge. But just when I thought the situation was behind me, something unexpected happened. The following week, I received an invitation. It was an email from a well-known car design exhibition, one that I'd heard of in passing but never thought I'd be invited to. The subject line read, "Exclusive invitation, showcasing your groundbreaking design." I read it twice, sure that I was misunderstanding it. The email explained that they had heard about the innovative design of my car, its sleek aesthetics, its impressive customizations, and how it had been causing a stir within the car enthusiast community. They specifically mentioned a conversation with the woman who had reported me. Turns out, her opinion was highly respected in certain circles, and after she saw the potential of my vehicle, she had quietly reached out to some influential figures in the automotive world. I sat back, staring at the screen. I wasn't sure if I should feel proud or just plain shocked. The same woman who had publicly declared my car a menace was now indirectly the one responsible for opening doors to a new world for me. The email included details about the exhibition, a chance to display my vehicle to potential investors, designers, and a group of high-profile automotive enthusiasts. The list of names in the invitation was enough to make my head spin. This wasn't just an event, it was an opportunity to prove myself on a stage I never thought I'd be a part of. I took a deep breath. Was I ready for this? Could I stand in front of the very people who had dismissed me, who had misunderstood my vision? I typed out a quick reply, accepting the invitation. I wasn't going to let this slip away, not after everything I had been through. This was my moment, and I wasn't going to waste it. The next few days were a blur of preparation. I polished my car until it practically gleamed, paying attention to every detail, the curves of the body, the precision of the engine, the custom touches that made it unique. I wanted to show them what they had missed, what they hadn't understood when they first looked at my creation. But there was one thing I knew for sure, this time, I wasn't just showing up. I was going to show them all exactly who I was and what I had built. The day of the exhibition arrived faster than I had anticipated. I woke up early, the excitement building with each passing hour. The venue was an upscale conference center, a place I never imagined I'd step foot into, let alone display my work. The event was exclusive, invitation only, and the guest list was a who's who of the automotive world. Investors, designers, collectors, and even celebrities in the car industry were scheduled to attend. As I drove my car into the venue's parking lot, I couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and anxiety. The same streets that the woman had called dangerous just weeks ago were now about to witness my car being showcased to the people who truly understood its value. It felt surreal. I parked my car in a designated spot, just outside the main hall. A team of event staff was there to assist with unloading, and as they carefully placed my car on a pristine display platform, I couldn't help but watch with a sense of disbelief. This was happening. The space was filled with the sound of hushed conversation and the steady hum of excitement in the air. People milled around, inspecting the other vehicles on display, classic cars, futuristic concept models, and everything in between. But the moment they laid eyes on my car, there was a noticeable shift in the room. Heads turned. Whispers spread. I saw the glint of recognition in some of the designers' eyes. It wasn't long before a group of people began to gather around my vehicle. I could overhear fragments of their conversations, praise for the car's lines, admiration for the custom engine work, and an astonished comment about its performance capabilities. Then, I saw her. The woman who had reported my car, the same woman who had deemed it a menace, was standing just outside the crowd, her expression unreadable. She was talking to a man in a suit, likely someone important, when she caught sight of me. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, I could see the hesitation. She knew. She knew exactly what this meant. The respect of these people. The admiration I had earned. She made her way over to me, her steps hesitant at first, but then more purposeful as she closed the distance. I stood still, watching her approach, waiting for her to speak. "Mr. Davis," she said, her voice calm but with a hint of regret. I didn't expect this. I didn't realize how much work you had put into this car. I made a mistake." Her gaze shifted to the car, and for the first time, I saw genuine respect in her eyes. I studied her for a moment, my mind racing. The woman who had once called me reckless was now standing here, acknowledging the artistry behind my creation. It felt like a small victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. "You're right," I replied, finally breaking the silence. "You did make a mistake. But it's okay. People learn." She nodded, her expression softening. "I was wrong to judge it without knowing. I'm sorry for how I handled things. I didn't understand at the time, but now I do." I didn't need an apology to move forward, but hearing it felt like a small weight lifting off my shoulders. It was the closure I hadn't realized I needed. With a final glance at my car, she turned to leave, and as she walked away, I felt a sense of finality. The past was behind me. And the future, my future, was just beginning. As the evening wore on, the exhibition reached its peak. The crowd had thickened, and I could feel the energy in the air, the buzz of opportunity, of possibility. I spent the next few hours talking to people, explaining the unique features of my car, and fielding questions about my design process. The admiration and respect I received were overwhelming. It felt like everything I had worked for, every sleepless night spent tweaking the engine or perfecting the bodywork, had finally paid off. This was what I had dreamed of, and it was unfolding right in front of me. But the real turning point came when a man in a dark suit approached me. His presence was commanding, confident yet approachable. He was mid-50s, with a salt and pepper beard and sharp, calculating eyes. He looked like someone who had seen a lot in the world of high-end cars. "You must be Mr. Davis," he said, extending a hand. "I've been hearing a lot about your car. Incredible work. There's something about it that just stands out from the rest." I shook his hand, a little taken aback by his enthusiasm. "Thank you," I said. "I've put a lot of effort into it." He nodded, looking the car up and down. "I can see that. I've been in the industry for decades, and I know talent when I see it. That design of yours. It's unlike anything I've seen in recent years. It's bold, it's unique. You've got a real eye for this." I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride, but I remained calm. "I appreciate that. It's been a long road to get here. The man's gaze flicked back to me, and there was a glint in his eye, something that hinted at opportunity. "Well, Mr. Davis, here's the thing. I'm in charge of a high-end automotive development company. We specialize in rare, exclusive models, cars that push the boundaries of performance and design. And right now, we're looking for someone like you. Someone who can take bold ideas and turn them into something extraordinary." My heart skipped a beat. Was he offering me a job? A partnership? He didn't wait for me to ask. "I'd like to offer you a deal. We can collaborate, bring your vision to life on a much larger scale, and make sure the world sees your work. We have the resources, the connections, and the manufacturing capacity to take your designs far beyond what you could do on your own." I was stunned. My mind raced with possibilities. This wasn't just a job offer, it was the kind of breakthrough I had been hoping for. The chance to not only showcase my design but to create something that could leave a lasting mark on the automotive world. "Of course, this wouldn't come without certain conditions," the man continued, his tone shifting slightly. "We would need to fine-tune some of the aspects, refine certain elements to ensure mass production viability. But trust me, this could be huge." I took a deep breath. I hadn't expected this, not by a long shot. But there it was, an opportunity that could change everything. I glanced at my car, parked proudly in the center of the room. For a moment, everything else faded away. I had done this. I had built something that mattered. And now, the chance to take it to the next level was right in front of me. "I'm in," I said, my voice steady despite the rush of excitement. "Let's make it happen." The man smiled, a knowing smile. "Excellent. I'll have my people reach out to you tomorrow. We'll get started." As he walked away, I stood there for a long moment, absorbing the enormity of what had just happened. The next chapter of my journey was about to begin, and this time, it would be on my terms. The days that followed were a blur. The offer I'd received at the exhibition wasn't just an opportunity, it was a gateway. I had barely returned home before the phone call started. The company was eager to get started, their team already working on logistics and plans for the future. Within a week, I was flown out to meet with them in their headquarters, an impressive facility that housed some of the most groundbreaking automotive technologies I had ever seen. It was everything I had ever dreamed of, and now, I was a part of it. The team consisted of engineers, designers, and business strategists, all of whom were excited to meet me. They welcomed my ideas with open arms, wanting to take what I had already built and expand it in ways I hadn't imagined. They were impressed by the custom work I had done on my car, but what stood out even more was my ability to think outside the box, to blend aesthetics with performance in ways that weren't being done by anyone else. We spent hours in meetings, sketching new designs, discussing performance metrics, and even brainstorming ideas for future projects. The collaboration was seamless. I felt like I was finally where I belonged, surrounded by people who understood my vision and were eager to help me bring it to life on a grand scale. But as the work progressed, I started to realize something deeper. This wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about proving something to myself. I wasn't just a guy with a custom vehicle, I was a designer, an innovator, someone who could make a real difference in the industry. The more I worked with the team, the more I began to see that this was my destiny. I had found my place, not just in the world of cars, but in a community of like-minded individuals who pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Months passed, and the project moved forward at an incredible pace. We developed prototypes, tested new technologies, and began refining the original design of my car to make it suitable for a broader market. The response from investors was overwhelmingly positive, and soon enough, we were negotiating partnerships with major car manufacturers who wanted to bring the designs to mass production. It was surreal. The man who had once been ignored, the designer whose work had been dismissed, was now leading a project that was attracting global attention. It felt like a dream that I didn't want to wake up from. Then, one day, as I was reviewing a new set of design blueprints, I received another unexpected call. It was the woman, the one who had reported my car, the one who had doubted me. She was calling to apologize again, this time with more sincerity than I had ever expected. "I just wanted to say how sorry I am," she said, her voice softer this time. "I didn't know what I was doing when I judged your car the way I did. But I see now what it's become, and what you've become. I was wrong, and I regret the way I handled everything." I was quiet for a moment, thinking about how far things had come. "I appreciate your apology," I said. "And I understand. I think we all make mistakes." "I know," she replied, a pause in her voice. "I've been following your success. And honestly, I'm proud of you. What you've done, it's incredible." I smiled, feeling a sense of closure. "Thank you. I appreciate that." With the conversation over, I couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed since that day in the parking lot. The judgment, the misunderstandings, the struggles, everything had led me to this point. And now, with the future wide open, I was ready for whatever came next. The journey wasn't just about the car anymore, it was about everything I had learned along the way, the people I had met, and the belief in myself that had grown stronger with every challenge. And as I looked ahead, I knew that this was only the beginning. A year passed since that pivotal exhibition. My life had transformed in ways I could hardly recognize. The car that had once been dismissed as a nuisance was now the centerpiece of a revolutionary line of vehicles, and I, once just a designer on the fringe, was now at the forefront of a new wave in automotive innovation. The collaboration with the development company had exceeded all expectations, and soon, we were unveiling prototypes that garnered attention not just in the automotive industry, but in mainstream media as well. As I stood in the showroom for the grand unveiling of our first mass production model, I couldn't help but think back to the woman, the one who had been the catalyst for everything. If she hadn't reported my car, if she hadn't dismissed it as dangerous, I might never have had the opportunity to prove myself to the world. Her actions, however misguided, had forced me to dig deeper, to refine my craft, and to reach for something bigger. And in some strange way, I owed part of my success to her. The unveiling was a huge event. The press was buzzing, photographers were snapping photos of the vehicle from every angle, and industry experts were eagerly discussing its design. As the crowd crowded around the sleek new car, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride. This wasn't just a victory for me, it was a victory for the dreamers, the innovators, and those who refused to let the world define their worth. Behind me, I saw familiar faces, people who had been with me since the beginning. The engineers who had believed in my vision. The investors who had taken a chance on me. And of course, the team that had helped bring my designs to life. They all stood there, watching as the car was revealed to the world. And in that moment, I realized that it wasn't just about the vehicle, it was about the community we had built, the trust we had earned, and the legacy we were leaving. I caught a glimpse of the woman in the crowd. She had attended the unveiling at the company's invitation. She was standing off to the side, quietly observing the event. Her face was still, but her eyes held a quiet respect. She had watched the transformation unfold, just as I had. And now, she knew. I made my way over to her, and when she saw me approaching, she gave a small, hesitant smile. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said, her voice sincere. "I didn't understand back then. But I get it now. What you've done, it's incredible." I nodded, understanding that this moment was more than just a personal victory, it was a testament to the power of perseverance. "Thank you for giving me the chance to prove it." She smiled again, this time with a deeper sense of appreciation. "I guess I learned a valuable lesson, never judge something, or someone, before you truly understand it." "Exactly," I replied, giving her a knowing look. Sometimes, it's the things we don't understand that have the most potential. With one last look at the car, she turned to leave, but not without one final word. "I'm proud of you," she said. "And I'm sorry for what I did. You deserve everything you've accomplished." I watched her walk away, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. Her apology wasn't necessary for me to move on, but hearing it felt like the final piece of the puzzle falling into place. It was closure, but it was also the beginning of something new. As I turned back to the crowd, I felt the weight of what I had accomplished and what was still to come. I was no longer just a designer in the shadows. I was a creator. An innovator. And I had a legacy to build. This was just the start.